now listening to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast.
Welcome to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dre.
And we are here to talk about our March submissions and our winners. We're going to talk about our winners.
Yep.
And some of the submissions that we got also. There's a lot we want to talk about.
Yeah, there sure is.
And this month we're grading on a bit of a curve.
Are we now?
Honestly. Yeah.
Why's that, Matt?
This was such an interesting month. And I expect this is probably the normal for film festivals. There's just such a wide range of topics. There's a wide range of quality. And listen, everybody, let's all gather around. Get in close. We're all family here, okay? If you're listening, you probably submitted and we watched your project and we feel you, we hear you, and we appreciate what you're doing. But I have some tough words for some of these projects from this month. And I don't go this route and want to say these things because I'm superior and I make high quality things. You know, I really don't. So, I mean, I do. But, you know, I'm not speaking from some high pedestal. I want to talk to you, the filmmaker, as if you're my friend. And I'm going to be honest with my friend. I could easily sit here, say, you're awesome. Thanks for your money. Hope you send me the next project you have and more dollars. I could do that, but I feel like that's what all of these film festivals, not all, but there's a lot of them. They're just absolute scams. And I know because I participate in them. I submit my films to stuff, and it's absolutely miserable dealing with some of these. You know, I had a notification date change on me.
Oh,
yesterday.
yeah. Yep.
Notification date for a film festival is supposed to be the 31st. They changed it to April 7th. Why?
Yeah, why?
Well, I mean,
there are rules, people. Follow the rules.
you're the one picking the notification date. Oh, that's my iMac says hello. Sorry. You're the one picking the notification date. Stick to it. And that's part of the reason why we started IndieEye, because I'm tired of just seeing these crappy festivals that can't stick to deadlines and don't offer any value other than maybe posting your film's title on a website somewhere and you get laurels. I mean, we don't go way out of our way for awards and prizes or anything.
Right, but as a creator, I feel like we don't always just want everybody to say, well, I mean, we do. We do want people to say, your stuff is really good. I really love that. Like, we are all that kind of person where it's good to hear good feedback. That feels good.
Right.
But if you're smart about your craft, you want to be better. And you do need to learn that not everything you make is Spielberg quality, and that sometimes you have to make crap, and sometimes you have to hear about that.
That's very true. And of course, we're independent filmmakers. We don't have giant budgets. We're not surrounded by a team of skilled and experienced individuals. We're not just given talented actors. We may not have an ear for levels and dialogue. We may not have a writing talent, but we want to tell stories. I mean, we may not know somebody who can operate a camera. But I want to be as honest as possible when I'm discussing all of these things. So I want you to know that if you're going to listen to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast, Matt is not going to BS you. I may not be as harsh as I want to be sometimes. That may be accurate, but I don't feel like it's important to beat people over the head with here's what you did wrong. I said this in our last podcast, and I want to reiterate this again. If you had something to submit for us to watch, congratulations.
It's huge.
You're a boss. Because there's plenty of people who like to talk about it and they don't do it, but you did it. If you're listening, you were either a director, maybe you're an actor, maybe you're a producer on one of these films, you're involved, and the project you worked hard on was finished and submitted to a film festival, and we might be talking about it right now.
Yeah, we might talk about it in this
There's a
episode.
lot of people can't say that, but they're gonna make a movie someday. They got something on their mind. I want to make this.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
But they didn't. But you did. So thank you all for submitting for March to IndieEye Film Awards. I had a really interesting time watching these submissions, and I can't wait to get into it. So let's not. I'm rambling.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think it's especially because this is a new podcast. This is a new thing for this audience. Just to reiterate where we stand, that we do want to give constructive criticism where it's necessary so that people can grow and get better at what this is. And you had said something and it made me think of, well, not everybody's good at everything. There's a whole A to Z job listing when it comes to making a movie. And you don't have the one person be good at all of those things. So just because you're a really great director, you may not know how to do sound, but that means that you have to know what good sound is, or that your sound was bad, so that you can go find the right people to fulfill that gap for you. So we if we want to tell you where your gaps are, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I'll let everybody know, I'm marginally average at everything. And if I can pull something off, you can pull it off. You just have to care a little bit more. Really, the only thing I have going for me over any competition is that I'll work harder than you, and I care a lot. And I think in the end, that's what shows. And we'll get into that a little bit more. And before we dive into categories, because we only get to say this once a month or talk once a month on the podcast, I guess that's our rules.
Yep.
But still, I wanted to just say how much fun we had in February doing IndieEye Film Awards.
Yeah.
And the people we got to talk with and exchange emails with. We got to have some wonderful conversations with people we really like.
Yeah.
And that we met because of IndieEye and because these people, had made the choice to submit to us and gave us the opportunity to watch their film. So I love that even in a time where we're really not gathering, COVID, blah, 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 and that online film festivals have really taken off, I was surprised at the level of networking that was completed within the IndieEye Film Awards alum from last month.
Yeah.
Because there are filmmakers who contacted other filmmakers. We got to speak with a lot of filmmakers. And I am just so happy that it made an impact. And another thing I was really surprised about, and what a credit to people, is even filmmakers from last month who weren't category winners per se still had such an optimistic reception to our decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are projects that I absolutely adored, but didn't become, it's hard. This is hard to pick winners this month. Really. I mean, we've spent so much time today just going back and forth arguing for different projects.
Yeah.
But so much fun last month. Thank you all again for that. And I hope this month makes connections as well. I hope you hear about these projects and look out for them and maybe reach out to other people and try to network. Because really, this community of filmmakers is a special breed, and it's only us in it that know all of the work that it takes. So if you're anything like me, there might be one or two people in your lives you can even discuss this with and their eyes don't glaze over. So I encourage you all to reach out to each other, and, if you can see other people's projects somehow, do that, or go give them a follow on Instagram, look them up and follow the film project or whatever they have submitted. And there's some music stuff we're going to talk about. So, all right. So, hey, you're all good people. You're all awesome. Thanks for making this fun. Wrap that up and we'll move on. The first thing we're going to talk about from March of IndieEye Film Awards is our documentary short category. The first one I want to talk about is it's Harm, and let me make sure I say this right. Harm, Alberta's Preventable Overdose Crisis. Did I say that right?
I believe so.
Okay.
That's what it looks like.
This is directed by Jason LaHoy. Now, Jason, if I messed that up, I'm sorry. I'm not Canadian, and I don't watch a lot of hockey, so these Canadian names are not my strength. But he's from Ottawa, Ontario. This is a 17-minute doc about opioid addiction, specifically Alberta's crisis with opioid addiction, and how the municipality deals with that, how that area treats those who are addicted and deals with these people. But it's really focused on preventing deaths from opioid addiction, which is very admirable. I come at these things in like preventing deaths from addiction is not where I look. I want to find out what's causing the addiction and attack that problem. Having said that, I'm not the director of this film. And I thought Jason did a great job intermixing talking head footage with the footage he had to support everything. I thought the music was good. I thought it looked good. And it told her in a really engaging, important story. And while it's focused on this one geographical area, it's universal. It applies everywhere. And it applies across the spectrum of addictions and drug abuses, alcohol, and such. And I thought Jason did a great job creating a story, and it was just about as long as it needed to be. It didn't feel like it dragged. Dragged. No, we're talking about drugs. It didn't drag. And it was totally watchable. And I think, Jason's goal here is to bring awareness to this problem and the challenges this region has in funding and operating the programs they believe are the appropriate treatments for these addictions. So it's really engaging. It's informative.
Yeah, because I had seen some documentary issues like this. I like to watch the show Intervention. I'm sure everybody knows what that show is. But the last season that I watched, it was from Canada. It was a bunch of people that they were interviewing from Canada in this general area. And it was a lot of how they can stop the addiction. And it is the hardest part. And so it is admirable that this solution is, look, they're going to do it. Help them do it safely. Not that I don't want to advocate for that, but I get where they're like, okay, we're not going to be able to solve the root. Let's at least help any way that we can prevent the death. Maybe if they don't die, they could have a chance of getting out of the addiction.
Yeah. That's
so it was really an interesting look at that side of things.
Yeah, great job, Jason. That was Harm, Alberta's Preventable Overdose Crisis. A great documentary.
Well done.
It will be an honorable mention for us. It wasn't the winner. It was not far from being a winner. And Jason, keep going. Keep telling these stories. I see that this is something that you definitely want to do. You do it well, and you're just going to keep getting better. And you clearly have an eye to see what kind of problems need to be exposed or discussed or propped up to improve awareness about. So,
and not only that, but a great way to tell that story.
Yes,
the way that the story was told, it was woven beautifully.
Yeah, great job, Jason. Thank you for submitting. Our winner for documentary short for March
2021.
Thank you. is Everything in Hardware.
Because everything in this documentary was amazing.
Directed by Jamie Wright and featuring John Bindley, who is the descendant of the originators of Bindley Hardware Company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is John looking into his ancestry and the history of his family, developing this hardware company in this beautiful building in Pittsburgh. And it had since gone out of business, and the family's houses were places
Sold
that he visited. I mean, I don't want to get bogged down in talking about every little detail because it's all so great. But what I really loved was the use of music throughout this story. John is a musician.
Yes, and his band, specifically, the Bindley Hardware Co., is on Spotify, by the way, and his music is amazing. So go listen.
Yeah, and they play this awesome music throughout, and it really the style of the visuals,
the B-roll
was perfect. It was industrial, rustic. The B-roll was just spot on. I appreciate good B-roll so well. But you have all these pretty things, and the sound was perfect, and the music mix was perfect. You have all these great things that you need to have technically. But it's the storytelling that really puts it over the top. And thankfully, this was such a good story from start to finish. It was such an easy watch. It felt like it just flew right by. And even though I think what you said when you thought it was going to be over, there was even more history. And it's just as interesting. I mean,
Yeah, and I have a very big spot in my heart for all things retro and vintage, and they were showing pamphlets and instructions and things that had come from the old hardware, like how to use things or how to make things, and just the old the old style of graphic design and the way that the pamphlets looked, and just it was just such a what am I trying to say? It just shot you right back to that era and totally gave you all that industrial time feels. I mean, this was they came up in the industrial era, and it was just beautiful, and I loved it.
Wonderful tone, wonderful theme. It was consistent throughout in its excellence and quality. Great job, you guys. Jamie Wright, John Binley, everyone involved with everything in hardware. You made an amazing doc, and thank you for submitting it. You are our winner for documentary short. And we will have, by the time you're hearing this, you might already have your laurels. So thank you very much. Okay, moving to music video now. This, we had just a heated debate on.
Twice,
yeah. And it couldn't be, our two finalists here couldn't be more different.
That is so true.
And it's just so hard to choose because they're both great for totally different reasons. And ultimately, we had to come down to a selection. But let me first talk about the Song of Curry Rice. What did he just say? I said the title of the song is The Song of Curry Rice. This was a submission from Japan by Harajuku Sukumbu, if I said that right. And this is a high quality production that it's ultimately why they should be eating curry rice.
It's like, I mean, it's a children's, it appears to be a children's song from like a children's show. Like if Americans, we might go back to like The Wiggles or Sesame Street or, something like that, where you have a song that's catchy for kids that helps explain a topic. I think that's what this is.
And it would be hard to describe this video without seeing it. It's from Japan. It's from a different culture, and how they kind of have that bigger color flare, and it
has a lot of color and a lot of flair.
Everything's moving and big, but they coordinated. They've got great choreography with these kids.
Yep.
They're in a huge assortment of different costumes and sets, and just everything is so well thought out. It's super well produced. It's a fun little song, and it looks gorgeous, and it sounds great. But we did have another one that we are calling the winner.
Yep.
Because it's also great, and for different reasons.
Totally different reasons. It's an actual music song, not a song for a television show, which is what the other one appeared to be.
Well, that's presumptuous.
It is,
and
maybe.
The difference in cultures, you have to factor that in. It's got to be tough. It's tough to compare the two different styles,
right?
Because a song about curry rice might be a smash for Japan.
Yeah.
Whereas, where we are geographically in Northern California, we had to just go with what our heart spoke to more, and just more of a style that we're familiar with and also enjoyed. So the winner of our music video category is I Want to Be a Teenage Boy, which was directed by Joshua McClain, performed by Zoe Fitzgerald Carter, who is in the Bay Area, which is relatively close to where we are. And this song, really catchy, really well written. For me, it has this like 95 Sheryl Crow,
Melissa Etheridge,
Meredith Brooks kind of vibe. And I just, maybe that's just speaking to where I come from. But I loved it. I thought she performed really well. They used the interior of a club during COVID, so it was empty, but they were able to put her in a performance doing that with some outside shots, but also mixed with archive footage by the editor. So it came together really well. And while I don't want to get into the politics of the song, for me personally, I don't want to get onto IndieEye and talk politics. But I thought you take the just a little bit of politics out of it, and it's just a great song on its own, written well about just what teenage boys get away with for anything. And it's true. We're kind of like we're wild animals to a certain extent. And there is a lot of double standards with teenage boys and teenage girls. And this song is really about, hey, wish I could have all these breaks and, the boys will be boys kind of thing. And it's done really well. I thought it was written super well produced, the song itself.
Yeah, and the video is very easy to look at. It's easy to watch. It moves. I like the way that you're not just looking at a singing face the whole time. The way that it is mixed with the vintage footage, it makes it. You don't want to look away because you're like, oh, what's the next? What am I going to look at next? So it is really well shot, and that was what made it easy for me to watch.
Absolutely, great job, Zoe Fitzgerald Carter. Look her up on Spotify too.
Yeah, she's there.
She's there. And if you get a chance to go see this video, I Want to Be a Teenage Boy, seek it out and enjoy. Have fun. Great job, Joshua McClain, directing it. You guys are the winner for our music video category.
Yay! Do you want to talk about our web series winner now?
Yeah, let's move on to that. The web series winner, I'm just going to throw it out there right now. The project is Trusting Chloe.
This was a good one.
Directed by Todd Long, who also stars in it as the dad. Trusting Chloe is set up as sort of a TV pilot, so it's under our web series category. It stands up on its own as its own little story, but it really does set up your basic premise for a TV pilot. And it's a comedy, and it was
a little bit of a drama.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So much fun to watch. There was so much work put into this to make it high quality and entertaining. And this is about a mom and a dad dealing with their teenage daughter who's at that point where she's may or may not be turning to her rebellious side at teenage girls. Speaking of teenagers, but every character has their own quirks and deliveries and personality, and it was very well written.
It was. Yeah, you did definitely got a sense of who they were, what role they played within the family, what their personality was like. They didn't have to explain it.
which makes sense because Todd's got experience in theater, experience with music, which his character in the show also he's a rock star, and his wife is Hispanic, and we're going to talk a little bit more about her in a little bit. And Sophie Rhiannon Long, who I'm just going to assume is Todd's daughter, plays the teenage girl, plays Chloe.
Yep.
And she was phenomenal.
She was great.
Was really impressive. Mm-hmm. I thought...
That's exactly what a teenager would say.
Yes.
Very believable.
And I thought, can I go back in time and cast her in my last film, which featured mostly teenage girls? I would appreciate that, but I can't. I don't have a flux capacity. So
bummer. I left mine at home.
No,
I'm home.
She did a great job. Everyone in this did a great job. Right off the bat, Todd Long, you're the winner of our web series for Trusting Chloe, and I think we're going to come back to this Trusting Chloe.
We are. Sneaky, no spoilers.
So enjoy that win and stay tuned. So we'll save narrative short and narrative feature for the end.
Okay.
That's right. We're going to make you wait all the way through, or you could scroll through.
No scrolling.
No, don't do that. And if you're listening on YouTube and you have questions for us, please feel free to comment.
Yeah.
Or you can always email us at hello@IndieEyeFilmAwards.com. If you have any questions or things you would like to hear us talk about on the podcast, and maybe you have questions about submissions or film festivals in general, or
filmmaking questions.
I mean, I don't want to turn this into
I know, but you are an experienced filmmaker, and so, there might be some questions. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there.
All right. Yeah. Well, if look.
Hey, and while you're commenting, like the video.
Oh, wow.
Share the video, and you can even subscribe so that you don't miss when we post new videos.
Is this the part where I go, hey guys,
been a while.
Sorry it's been so long since I uploaded. I'm going to be more regular now.
No, we are just going to do this once a month.
Okay.
Like, share, subscribe.
All right, let's take care
and hit that bell notification.
Wow, here we go.
Okay, I'm done.
Can I talk to the people now? All right. We're going to go to these subcategories. I really want to jump ahead and try to knock these out and get to other things. And I'll reiterate, there were some really tough choices made around this. So
multiple discussions.
So much weighing back and forth. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with Best Director. And directors, are you listening to me right now? Again, come in close. Because I'm a director, you're a director. Let's talk. I'm going to be real with you. In my opinion, some of you need to be more in love with the audience than you are with your movie. What does that mean? There's a place for art house. There's a place for really indulging in whatever story you want to tell. That's what art is. Do whatever you want. Don't go by Matt's rules. Do what you want. But I'm just saying, as a person who's got some experience and watches a lot of indie stuff, if you're reveling in your storytelling with imagery and stuff, but you're not caring about audio, you don't care about story or performance, you're missing some really important avenues that are used to connect with the audience. We received feature films that the premise is great, the execution really flawed. Bad audio, bad editing. I mean, I don't understand how you can take on something like a feature film, even a short film, and put so much work into it, but you just leave the audio to, maybe you think it's done, but it's just bad. And my first pass with a lot of these, this month in particular, was with Bose QC35 Mark II headphones on. I'm sitting here watching it because I want the full experience of what your sound is like. And there's so many, if you don't know what loudness normalization is, figure it out or hire someone who does. If you don't know where your levels should be, where your LUFS should be at, your LUFS, You've got to do the homework on what audio should be, and appreciate a final mix and things like that. Now, I'm no sound specialist, but I spent a lot of time in a recording studio growing up, and I've done a lot of YouTube homework, and
This man researches the crap out of everything.
I've been doing corporate work for decades now. You've got to make your audio better. And I think a lot of films suffered mainly for that, because you're making it a difficult experience for me, the audience, to enjoy your film. Now, I can look past all these things, and I know,
It's hard.
I know what the pitfalls are, and I'm looking past things, and I'm trying to track your story, but you're starting, on the wrong foot by making it hard for me to enjoy the story. So, just directors, make sure you're doing your audio right. Don't hurry up and finish and make it a second, or make it a back burner thing. The audio will be fine. Look at my beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Make sure that audio is right. If you're going to spend money and submit to festivals, you're competing against people who do get the audio right, and that's going to be a tiebreaker in most cases.
Yeah. There's only those are the two most important senses that the audience uses to enjoy a film. They can't feel it, they can't really touch it, they can't smell it. It's the only two senses. They have to see it and they have to hear it. And when one of those things is incredibly difficult, you are not able to really get the most out of the other sense. It really is distracting to have Foley that doesn't match what's happening. Our brains are not stupid. Overprocessed. When one person talking is louder than the other person talking, when it's the same scene, but you know that it's a different shot and those audio levels don't match. Those are things that really take you out of the experience of watching a movie.
And a real simple thing that I always look for is in scenes where you have people talking and the two shots don't match their room tone or their environment sound. And this is something that's so easy to take care of in editing. I mean, you can go get room tone in your own house and lay that down as a bed and try to manage give that sense of continuity in your background. All of that stuff is important. If you're outside and you got your A shot and your B shot and two people are talking, well, your microphone may be pointed in different directions. So you're going to get a different feel for those shots, and those really take people out of your movie. So, go get your natural sound, and, stand in the area where you shot this scene and,
live in the silence.
Get that natural sound so you have it to layer under your dialogue. And that's the same thing in room tone. Nobody's ever quiet for room tone, but if you can get room tone and you think, well, there's nothing to hear, there's no sound. No, there is. You record a microphone in a room, that room has a sound. You need to capture that and you need to include it in your mix. You need to think about what are the other sounds going on in this environment.
What would be naturally here?
I'm really going to hammer this later on for a particular film, but this is important. And I'm so old, I remember when I was going to talk about Best Director and then went off on this tangent. So let me just talk about, with a terrible segue here, let me talk about our Best Director for this month of IndieEye. And it's going to be Pride Pierce, who submitted Target, and he submitted Target like with 2 hours left to go in the deadline. And I was so happy to see another entry from Pride Pierce. Now, Pride Pierce last month submitted Meet the Mackeys,
which was so fun.
Which was just phenomenal. It was so fun to watch. And Meet the Mackeys starred Michelangelo Blackwell, which was a very comedy role, comedic. It was
slapstick almost.
Almost, yeah. And then with Target, it's a very serious tone to see him in. Like, it was such a great contrast, and this guy is really, really good.
Yeah.
And I want to see him in more stuff. But the reason we chose Pride Pierce for Best Director for Target, and Target's not even 5 minutes long.
It's very short.
So, there's a lot to consider with you have people who are directing full-length films or longer shorts. Hey, your short narratives don't have to be 30 minutes long, people. They can be 5 minutes and be very engaging. But what Pride did, again, was make me want to see more of what he just showed me. And that's what a good director does. He got clean, good performances out of his actors, which he is one in this film.
This is true.
No spoilers, but it was very noticeable how improved in quality Target is over Meet the Mackies, which the conditions in which they shot were completely different, and you can tell he had a lot of control over where they were in this location. They're out in an open location, no one around to bother them, at least that I can tell.
Yeah.
And what I think it does so well that short films need to do more of is it drops you right in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
But is able very quickly to tell you exactly what's going on, where you are, who these people are, what the stakes are.
Yeah, in like a minute.
Yeah. And it was a great job because I felt like I saw a whole thing and it was only 5 minutes long. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, I want to see more. I got to see more of this and this character and what's going to happen to him. And so Pride Pierce, excellent job. You are IndieEye Film Awards Best Director for March of 2021.
Yay!
And we're going to talk about a little bit more about Target again.
More spoilers.
Oh, sorry.
Chill it out.
All right, sorry. But let's move on to Best Original Music, Song, and Score.
Okie doke.
And there was a really interesting submission to this category that I want to talk about because it is an honorable mention. And it's Faceless by Abril Arnauta. And this is a really cool short film.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Just the work in it is amazing. There's artwork in this film. It's about an artist. It deals with sexual assault. And I don't want to say too much about the film because I would love for people to have a chance to see it. But my big takeaway was how good of a director Abril Arnauta is. The cinematography by Ray Pan was absolutely stellar. It had great sound. The lead in this film is fantastic. But Faceless was only submitted for Best Original Song, Music, or Score. And we have a different winner for that category.
Yeah, I feel like if they would have put their film in for any of the other categories, they would have been a top contender for sure.
Absolutely agree. This is a top contender across the board for narrative short and any other categories that would go along with it.
So, hey, we're about to open up April's submissions. Resubmit it for a different category.
You could. Yeah, you could. But Faceless does get an honorable mention this month, even though they just submitted for this category and we have a different winner. People need to be aware of Faceless and aware of this talented Abril Arnauta. She's really good and she knows what she's doing and she makes stuff that looks great and sounds great and tells fun stories.
So thanks for submitting.
And I think our winner is just not really going to be a surprise once you hear it because we've already discussed this documentary. And honestly, the music in it is so original and so good that this was a runaway. It's everything in Hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. Did I mention that their band is on Spotify?
And the band is called
Bindley Hardware Co.
With John Bindley. Look, we already said this. You guys did an amazing job with this documentary short. And the sound was phenomenal. And there was just...
It worked so well. Just the vibe of the band and like, it's a very southern bluesy rock and roll. It's got some country feel to it. I don't know who to compare it to other than maybe like a Mumford & Sons. A little bit of maybe, I don't know, just Swanson Brothers. They were from The Voice. Nobody knows who they are. But they were like a duo that did like banjos and it was just very cool. So that whole vibe fit the entire vibe of this documentary and what the topic was about.
So again, Jamie Wright, John Bindley.
Yeah.
Not only did you win documentary short, you are the winner of our Best Original Music Song and Score category.
Yay!
And since we're talking sound, let's go to Best Sound Design, which you might assume we would throw to everything in hardware also.
You would think.
But we are limited to who has submitted in a particular category. So while we might have heavily favored everything in hardware, I was really glad they didn't submit for this particular category because I really enjoyed Bleeding Out, directed by Michael Lafferty. And Bleeding Out is this short little drama about a sister who comes home to see her brother stabbed and suffering quite a bit throughout the whole thing. And as a side note, I want to call out Rhianna Lynch, who played Kelly Malloy, the lead in Bleeding Out. She was really good. She had to maintain a sense of anxiety and confusion, and I just felt like her delivery was really, really good. They also submitted for Best Actor for Kelly. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Although I did want to say right now that I thought Rhianna Lynch, who played Kelly, did an amazing job in Bleeding Out. But for the Best Sound Design and for the films that were submitted in this category, Michael Lafferty really did an excellent job. And he took care of the things that we discussed previously about proper dialogue levels. He's using the right kind of music at the right kind of levels, and he's not leaning hard on the music to tell the story. He's letting the characters do it, and he's accenting all of that with the right tone. And there are multiple layers of sound that he's having to construct in this scenario. You've got a guy who's laying and bleeding out, and they're dealing with the wound. These things are happening, going on in the house, and it all sounds really clean, really well cared for. And Michael, I thought you did a great job with this. So Bleeding Out gets Best Sound Design.
Yay!
Thank you for submitting. Really enjoyed watching that. Moving on to Best Ensemble Cast. Vince, are you listening? We're giving Best Ensemble Cast to a short film called Gift. This is directed by Vince Eisenson. It also stars Vince Eisenson, which I didn't know until I looked at the credits after watching it and was impressed. I'm always impressed when you have a director who's the actor and the actor's really good.
Yeah. He's not just in it just to be in his own movie.
Vince, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed your performance, and I'm so glad you submitted to this category because the dialogue worked. I loved everybody in the cast, the quips, the camera movement was great. And this movie is about a jaded alcoholic who has his worldview challenged by an unexpected act. And it's only 8 minutes, 26 seconds long. So again, you have a compact short film. I'm telling you, people, you want to make short films? Make them under 10 minutes and make them really tight and really, really good. If you do that, it's so much easier to win people over because there's less of a chance for
filler.
Basically, yeah. And hey, I know about some filler, so I really like these short submissions. I mean, you're gonna get gems like Trusting Chloe, 30-something minutes long.
Yeah,
and
it worth a watch.
Worth the watch. But a lot of times, if you're trying to stretch it out just for the sake of it, don't. It's okay to be sub 10 minutes and tell a tight story. And Vince Eisenson does that perfectly here. It's beautifully shot. Audio's great. Excellent acting. Great actors. And it's the best ensemble cast for IndieEye Film Awards in March of 2021.
Yay!
And here's a tough one. Next category, we're just gonna tackle this. Best Actor. This is a hard category. And let me take a sidecar here to tell you all, judging films is not easy. And I thought when we started IndieEye, we'll pick the best. We'll whatever we want, doesn't matter. Whatever we like. And sometimes
it's not that easy, Karen.
It's just not that easy. There's really a lot. This is another category where we had to go back and forth, and ultimately we had to base it on this month, obviously. But I want to first talk about Michelangelo Blackwell, who we mentioned, who's in Target, who was in last month's Meet the Mackeys, working with Pride Pierce. This guy's good.
He is. It was so fun to see him in this different, serious role. I thought when I saw him, I was like, oh, this is going to be like, where's the funny? And it was not. It was good. He was good.
Yeah, well,
not being funny as well.
I knew going into it was not going to be a comedy. And just seeing him in that serious tone, it was just like, ooh, cool. Like, I'm a firm believer that if you can do comedy well, you can do anything well when it comes to acting. Like, for example, Jim Carrey is a great comedic actor.
Yep.
I don't think he takes great comedic roles, but he's a brilliant comedic actor. But his best work is when he's serious.
Yeah.
When it's Truman Show, or one of my personal favorites, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. His best stuff is when he's serious. Because if you're a comedian, you know you can work your emotions. You know how to tap into people. And Michelangelo Blackwell just has that quality and that natural feel for acting. And he's got a great look.
Yeah.
For acting. You know, I can't put my finger on it, but I'm just like, I want to watch him and see what he's going to do. And he's fantastic. He was up against another juggernaut this month. And we had to take Target, which Michelangelo Blackwell is in, and put it alongside this other project with another actor who had a lot more dialogue, much more to do.
Different scenarios to be in.
Different scenarios. Yeah. It's like the two music videos.
Yeah.
Two completely different things, both worthy. And I hate to not just give Michelangelo Blackwell, all the praise and love. I mean, we're doing that. But rest assured, I want to see him in more things. I want to see him and Pride Pierce work together more. I want to see some more Target. Can that be a web
can series? Yeah, for sure, because I want to see what happens after the end. I want maybe a little bit more of a backstory too on these characters. Yes, that would be fun.
You would almost have to, unless you retconned some certain things. But again, Michelangelo Blackwell, you are an extremely talented actor, and you are well deserving of the best director.
Best director. Whew, that was a good one.
Is there an English teacher in the house? You are well deserving of the best actor award. This month, we can't go that way. And I want to talk about, at some point, you're going to get our best actor award. And again, we're just Matt and Dre doing IndieEye Film Awards. You're going to have accolades coming your way that's beyond us. But let's go back to Trusting Chloe.
Yes.
And let's talk about Natalia Noriega. She's phenomenal.
She's so fun.
She is the main thing for me where I want to watch more Trusting Chloe as a sitcom or a web series.
Yeah.
Or just more of that story. She is hilarious in this role. And credit to Todd Long, who wrote the character and directed the project. But she, again, just like Michelangelo Blackwell has that, intangible gift of acting, you can tell that Natalia Noriega also does. Her comedic timing is great. Her facial expressions are great. She never just says her line.
Yeah, she's not just reading.
Always in the character and over the top just enough for the genre that it's in. Every time she spoke, I was locked in and smiling at not only the dialogue that was written for her, but the way she performs it. So we have to give Natalia Noriega of Trusting Chloe our Best Actor award for IndieEye Film Awards.
Yay!
Great job, Natalia. But we're not done talking about Target.
Right.
And my boy, Pride Pierce, because he deserves credit for Best Cinematography this month.
Yeah.
Target is shot so well and beautifully, and each shot has a purpose. The camera placement, well thought out. And again, this is a short that's less than 5 minutes long.
Yeah, and it takes place in like one single location with like not even 20 feet.
But you use the camera in interesting ways.
Yeah.
And each shot is informing the viewer of what they need to know, what they need to see. And it's just shot well. Yeah. It's beautiful. So Pride Pierce, Best Cinematography, goes to Target.
Yay!
But wait, there's more.
No.
We're giving Best Supporting Actor to Kelly Quinn.
Good choice, good choice.
And while there's not a lot of room to chew scenery or express a particular arc in 5 minutes, Kelly, in a very short amount of time, I felt presented an interesting character, delivered dialogue really well, was engaging. And I can't really get into spoilers for Target, but I definitely wanted to see more of Kelly's character. So within our submissions for Best Supporting Actor, Kelly Quinn of Target is absolutely the winner for IndieEye for March.
Yay!
Okay, 2 categories left. Narrative short, narrative feature.
Let's do it.
Narrative short for me was by far the toughest category to pick one from.
There's a lot of good ones.
And good for different reasons. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like so many of these submissions were worthy of winning, and they're going to win, or they have already won in other festivals. But, because I guess we make up the rules, we can only pick one winner. Unlike some of these other festivals who are like, we have 35 winners for Best Narrative Short. So it means nothing. So to one person, they're going to be the winner. To other people, they're not. And that's kind of a letdown. But I do want to talk about some of these films and tell people what I enjoyed so much about them. And we got a beautiful entry from Italy called Jackals, directed by Giovanni Nodari. And it's this post-apocalyptic type setting where these 2 guys are raiding a neighborhood for things that would be deemed valuable in that setting. It's shot so beautifully, and the audio's cared for, and it has a tone it's loyal to, and it's just so well acted. This was a great little short film, 17 minutes or so long, that I felt Giovanni Nodari really put a lot of passion and effort into. And I would love to make this our winner, but I can't. But I did want to talk about Jackals and offer all my respect for the quality of this project that you submitted. This is great work. And, I think you're just going to keep going forward, getting bigger and better. And I think you're ready to take on a feature film for sure. I mean, you've got the quality down. You've got the storytelling elements down. Go for it. Go tell a big story. I'd like to see this expanded. I'd like to see Jackals as a feature film and see, more of this universe. There's only so much you can do on a limited budget, but for what they had, I believed I was in this world and in these times. And the makeup on some aspects of the film was really good and believable, and lighting was spectacular. I just, I could keep going on and on about the aesthetics, but great job. And another super short that we got is Myopia. 5 minutes long, directed by Carla Orellana from El Salvador. And here's what this film does so well. Because this is not the greatest technical achievement in the history of filmmaking by far at all. But what Carla did in 5 minutes made maybe the biggest impact on me watching the submissions this month. And you have a frustrated guy driving a car. Everything's going wrong for him. like we've all been this person.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
been angry behind the wheel and nothing's going our way and we just want to lash out. And the lead is given an opportunity at the end to really be a jerk or just be cool, be a nice guy. And because of the decision he makes, that's what made it's significant.
The lesson comes at the end.
Yeah, it's very significant, and it's just a great, quick. Hey, things go bad. Cool out, chill. Don't take it out on anybody else. There's nothing wrong with being kind and nice, says the guy who gets on his podcast to bash films about their audio.
You're not bashing.
But I'm not mad.
But this is a completely relatable story. Everyone has experienced this. And I love that it's just another one of those reasons that this is another one of those examples of not every story needs to be 90 minutes long. Stories can be short. You don't just, when you have an issue that you have, maybe you have an issue at work, you don't come home and tell your spouse 45 minutes worth of the story. I mean, sometimes maybe you do.
Sometimes you do.
But
sometimes your name is Matt.
But sometimes stories are just little stories, and they can be told in that small amount of time and get the point across and make you feel it. And that is very cool. And I feel like that's what Myopia did.
Yeah, it was very economical in its impact. And I thought Carla just did an amazing job getting to that point and putting it out there. And, how cool it came from El Salvador. We haven't had a submission from there.
Yeah.
Not our winner for narrative short, but really good. And I felt it was important for you to know that we believed it was really good. Just the whole point of the film. Great job.
Hey, can we talk about the 2020 kid?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this was filmed in the Bay Area, so also close to us. There is a nugget about this short film that I really like, but I felt like it was, something that should have been 5 minutes long that they found a way to extend to 30 minutes. And this was directed by Daniel Luca Parenti, who also stars in it as the dad, but it's his family. And they did this during COVID, which we get a lot of submissions that are kind of COVID related.
Yep.
Done with the limitations of COVID, and I certainly understand that, and I respect that. But Daniel, I believe you have a really great 5-minute short film that this should have been. And this story is a reflection of what kids have kind of been going through during COVID with the homeschooling, not being around friends. You can't go do sports. This miserable existence that kids could be subject to, and showing young Luca, his son, or showing what Luca has to endure, or just the blah of his daily life, the chores, schooling.
Yeah, his friends not being available when he wants them.
Dad's busy at work,
Yeah.
and your parents are...
Mom's on the phone.
Your parents
Yeah.
are home, but
Yeah.
they're too busy. So everyone's together, but everyone's apart.
Yeah.
And
we all get this. We're all still living this.
And Daniel, I'm talking to you here. The soul of this project is genuine and great. And I loved it. I liked you guys as a family. I just didn't need to see every single step of Luca's chores. There's so much trimming that can be done, and you can still tell the same story and get your point across without dragging it out. Now, you could make the argument it's that dragging it out that makes you feel the blasé of these COVID days for kids.
That's true.
That's an argument you can make.
That's true.
But you're being more in love with your movie than you are the audience.
Yeah, the part that stood out to me a little bit was him trying to get Luca out of bed. I can think of a couple of ways where the audience could have been told so much time has passed. But instead, it literally was like almost 10 minutes, I think it felt like, at least. Maybe it was 5. But it felt like probably more time. It dragged. Of just him laying in bed and the dad coming in 3-4 times, which we get, but maybe speed that up and do like a time lapse of how many times he comes in and cut it down to, 30 seconds, or watch the time go by on the clock, or show us what the clock says each time.
Clips. Luca, get up. Luca, get up. Luca.
Exactly.
And switch that up.
But
Make it go.
Yeah.
It's just him laying there. Although, what I did really like, Daniel, is the way you established Luca's room, which is an awesome room.
Dude, can I have that room?
Can I come over and play? What a cool room. Everything in there, I felt like, oh, that's kind of like what my office was like. So the room was super cool, and I loved how you showed his environment that way. And that was a great opportunity to, even if we're really getting technical about this, but in these different shots of Luca not getting out of bed and having to be, engaged with by the parents, perhaps you could have shown a wide shot of the room in different perspectives so that we get the room while you're telling that story. I don't know. That's, this isn't my movie. These are your choices. But I'm just speaking my mind here. And I love the setup of Luca playing the drums, but then we never really come back to that. We never see a drum set again.
I was like looking for the drum set in his room every time we'd get establishing shots or different shots, because you showed us basically the whole room at different points during the film. But I wanted to see him play the drums by himself in his room. I thought that was going to be a major part of this story. Yes,
I thought that would be kind of where he found solace in the end.
Yep.
With doing.
Now, I like where he did find solace. I did like how it was wrapped up, and I felt like that is a good moral to the story, is that what is important is what was at the end.
Right.
Totally dig that. But I too was looking for that drum set. I didn't find it.
But we did enjoy the watch, and kudos to you guys for knocking out a feature film, or not a feature film, but a short film in your house and getting that done. That's something that Luca's going to have the rest of his life.
I was just going to say it's a time capsule.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is.
It's a really, you could almost call it a super well-produced home video for their family.
Yeah.
And it's unique in its being within the context of COVID. It's not unique, but considering the amount of COVID material I've seen over the last 2 months, that was certainly the best COVID is happening type of film I've watched.
Yeah.
So good job to you guys. Luca did a great job. I know it's tough directing kids. We have a 13-year-old, and he went through the same stuff that Luca, is experiencing. Our households are not much different at all. We're both home. Our kids are home. Well, one's home, one's working. So we're really right there with you, and we're just down the freeway from you.
Yep.
Good job to you guys. I'm sorry this couldn't be our winner for narrative short, but you guys definitely deserve a pat on the back, and you should be very proud of what you finished. 2 other shorts we received, I want to talk about them at the same time because they both deal with racism, these big society issues and discussions that people are having. And while these 2 films are about this same topic, they approach it very, very differently. And the first one is What Divides Us by Justin Powaj. I'm sorry, Justin, if I'm messing that name up. For now on, I'm just going to say Justin in case I am messing that up. But this film is done really well. And it's a discussion between an interracial couple from 2 different perspectives, which is, it's a reflection of maybe the 2 sides of the argument going on in society, which is great. This is handled really well. It's written really well.
Yeah, the dialogue flows so naturally. It really feels like a true, authentic conversation that 2 people are actually having. They step on each other just enough, but not enough to be annoying. And it felt very authentic.
And the actors are fantastic, which says Justin did a great job directing. And I also like that it was very well lit. Much of the image quality. It's crisp and clean. It's got great color. My only nitpick is that I feel like some of these shots would have been better locked down than handheld, because I sense a little bit of stabilization in post, and there's some missed focus stuff where I think if it was just continuously locked down, we could have avoided some of that. But these are minor issues. He's doing the right thing, and the story has intention, looks good, it sounds good. All aspects of the craft are being cared for in this film. But what was hardest for me to digest, and this is a personal thing, is that this has been such a heavy topic, for a long time, but really, over the last year, how much it's been out there in the public forum, and we've heard it, we've seen it, and I'm just not at a place where I want to see two people have an argument. And this is more of a discussion between two people who love each other. But it's just the heavy argument, and that's what this short film is. Now, it brings up great points on both sides, and it is well done. But I wasn't in the mood to watch an argument. But major credit to Justin for making it such a high-quality short film. But what I found even more interesting, after I watched What Divides Us, and I was looking up everything about Justin, is that I saw that he did a Zatanna fan film. And for those who don't know, Zatanna is a DC comic book character. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. Let me just search for that. I searched it. I found his YouTube channel, 15 Studios. Spell it out, 15 Studios. You should go to YouTube and subscribe to 15 Studios and watch Justin's other work, because it's really good. He's really talented. You got to see Arbitration. Watch this Zatanna fan film. The quality's super high. The stories are good to watch. Like Arbitration in itself, heavy in a socio-political kind of way, but just done really fresh and interesting. And I was really surprised. I watched the Zatanna short film, and I was really surprised at the quality throughout, not only with the visuals and the sound, but the actors and the decisions that are being made. This guy is really talented, deserves your sub, deserves your follow. So go check him out. 15 Studios on YouTube. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Justin's work.
Yeah, it was a great film.
Now, in contrast to a heavy discussion, we have the Black League of Superheroes. And by the time you're hearing this, there should be a review for Black League of Superheroes, a written review on the website at IndieEye. So go check that out. But what I want to say about it right now, this is directed by Stephen Allen Davis, Joe Chacon, and Marcus Nell Jamal Ham. Now, Marcus Nell Jamal Ham in this movie played several roles. And I'll tell you what, I didn't know I needed a movie with Blade, Spawn, Black Panther, Miles Morales, and a Black Superman until I saw the Black League of Superheroes. And now I want this cinematic universe to be a thing.
It needs to be reality.
Marcus played all of these roles. He had a blast doing it. It clearly looks like. I love his Blade. His Miles Morales is funny. But when Black Superman comes in, that's so awesome. With the dreads. Yep. That was so fun.
It was definitely comic relief to a serious topic. They wove it in very well.
Yes, because they're also coming together to fight the issues involving racism and the conversations that are out in society right now. And this was bringing, icons together to take that on. And I love the merging, the universes merging of DC and Marvel and Image. So much fun. You'd want to see more. But what I found interesting about this after reading up is that originally they did this as a 15-minute short film, after that they went back and did some more production to put in the beginning, because the last 15 minutes of this film, and this is almost 30 minutes long, but the last 15 minutes are where the superheroes are sitting alone not alone, they're together in a room, and they're having this conversation with each other, and there are quips and funny introductions, and the costumes look great, and it's really fun to experience, even though they're talking about these heavy topics.
Right.
It's just easier to digest.
It is.
I felt like they should have just left it at that 15-minute scene. I think that would have been, it's stronger as that than it is with the other things they put up front, where they're including action and they're introducing the characters. And, it's not a bad idea to do that. I just think it didn't need it.
Yeah, and just having them sit around in a room together, kind of figuring out a plan or figuring out what to do, would have been completely unexpected of a movie like this. You would expect the action, but not having the action, I don't know, could have been unexpected and cool on its own.
And in my opinion, it was a wonderful way to go about addressing the topic, because it's serious, but they're having fun in doing what they're doing. And I want to mention that Marcus Nell Jamal Ham is producing and starring in a feature film called Heaven's Revenge. Oh. So I hope that I get to see that before too long. And I'm looking forward to what these guys put together, or what Marcus does going forward, because this was a lot of fun. And I think DC, Warner Brothers, give Marcus a call, because Henry Cavill's not playing Superman anymore. The Snyder universe is dead as we know it. And now I want Black Superman
with dreads
to come. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's a stylistic choice. But whatever. But I want it to be Marcus. So they probably won't adhere to that. They probably don't take my opinion into consideration. But Marcus, that's just to let you know, really enjoyed it. I can tell you guys had a lot of fun putting this together. And I really enjoyed the fresh approach to discussing serious matters. So moving on, and I've talked about Target enough by Pride Pierce. But I want to go back to it and say how great it is to see a less than 5-minute short film tell a compelling story, keep me engaged, and make me want more. That's so important. And while Pride submitted for narrative short, and it's well deserving of a narrative short, when I feel handcuffed because of how deep this category is this year. This month. And it was a difficult choice. It was really, really tough. And one of these solid shorts was A Little Prank by Jordi Fontanet. I'm probably getting that wrong. Jordi, I'm sorry, but this is a submission from Mexico, and it's shot beautifully. And, well, it's about some friends playing a prank on each other, and things just kind of go wrong. And it's a wonderful premise. It's not a funny idea. It's kind of a darker themed short. But the way they execute what's going on is great. And I just thought he did a great job in the short film. It's not our winner, but Jordi, this is super well done. It looks beautiful. It sounds really good. The premise is great. Writing was really good. I really enjoyed watching it. Tough category, deep category this month, and we had to move on. We had to select a different film. But A Little Prank is fantastic. Our narrative short winner for March is Indigo.
Yes, it is.
Directed by Matthew Hennion. Now, I enjoyed this, but you enjoyed it more than me. Tell me about your impression.
Well, I like murder shows, so that's a big factor there. I really had it had a very Pulp Fiction, which is my favorite movie of all time, feel. It also was a little bit of that Natural Born Killers feel, not as detailed, but I did get that vibe from it, and I liked the look of this film. I also really liked that it had enough suspense. I didn't always know where it was going. I couldn't pinpoint some things within the story that were not, the word isn't a stinger. What's the word? A little bit of a twist or a tag that I wasn't expecting. So, and I thought that the acting was well done. And I enjoyed the story overall. Not that it was a good moral story or anything, but it was an enjoyable watch for me.
Is the real truth that you liked the classic car that was in it?
Very much. Like, especially there's a shot when you see the car rolling up and you just see the front end come in and it's the bumper and then it's the wheel, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's so pretty.
Yeah, and I think you made the right comparisons. And while it evokes some Pulp Fiction and definitely some Natural Born Killers, it's not derivative.
It is not. It is not.
I would say it's not hyper stylistic, but it is stylistic, reminiscent of a Quentin Tarantino vibe.
Yeah.
But without being derivative. You're not stealing it. Hey, stealing's, is the best form of flattery. And as filmmakers, we all steal from each other. And Quentin Tarantino will be the first to tell you.
Of course.
But this was your own style, your own voice, your own vision. And I really embraced it. Like, I really particularly enjoyed like the first 10 minutes of this, and it's 35 minutes long. It's a substantial short,
but it moves.
I think by the end it feels like it was a feature film. There's so much goes on. There's so much drama. This is our winner for narrative short.
Yeah,
and I think it was the one we could both come to a consensus on and agree that it told the best story in the best way,
along with being pretty. And the sound was great.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I have issues.
I know
with the
you
sound.
have issues with the sound. Yes,
And
there are some. You're right.
Look, Matthew, while I'm here, I'm just going to tell you about some issues I had with the film. I mean, you're already the winner. Maybe you don't listen anymore. That's fine. There's a scene at the pool where the gnat sound you're using is like from a stream or running water
or a fountain, which we don't ever see.
It's something that's not the still pool that's behind him, and it was so distracting for me. And there's you're dealing with some sort of exterior natural sound that's coming in and out, and that was really distracting. And that was probably, I'm assuming that was something that was just out of your control at the time of the shoot, and you have to deal with it. And I know exactly how that feels. But that was an issue for me. You won me over with the whole ring bit. And, I don't want to say too much about the film, but I love how that's paid off and sets up. Again, you have a director who made me want more. After 35 minutes of murder, he made me want to follow this story. And I'm excited to see where you go from here. I hope you continue to tell this story, but really, I trust your vision and style and everything you bring to the table. So whatever you make next, I want to see it. And I thought Indigo was awesome, and it's definitely our narrative short winner.
Agreed. Yay.
So you ready for Matt to get mean now?
No.
Look,
it's necessary.
Well, I'm kidding. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm very serious about this because when I'm working on things, I'm trying to make it as enjoyable for the viewer to watch as possible. And our winner for narrative feature film was surprising to me. I'm just going to be honest. When I first saw our winner, I thought, well, that's just not going to hold up. But for the other features we received, it ended up being the one I chose. And for very valid reasons. It's worthy of the win. And I could just name a winner. And we'd move on and end this podcast, and it makes my life easier and your life easier, and we can stop listening, and we could finish up the rest of the work to get IndieEye out there and notify people. But I'm going to take a little time and just talk to you guys, and then we'll tell you who our winner is. There's one feature film we got, which I'm not going to give the title of. I wasn't given permission to discuss, and I did ask. whether they would like us to discuss this or not. This was actually the first film I had to choose not selected for. I didn't do that last month because I felt everything we got was deserving of being acknowledged. And we received a feature film. It's an hour and a half long, full of all sorts of stuff. And it told a story. And these people worked hard on it. And there was a lot of people. But the audio was so bad, I had to email the person and say, look, I couldn't select it, and this is why. You had dialogue on the left channel with loud music, which should have been the bed, was just over the top and in stereo, and you couldn't even hear what the people were saying. Camera work was really bad. And there were storytelling elements that really should have been tightened up or reconsidered, in my opinion. But it was just such a technical mess that I couldn't select it. And I feel bad when people spend money to submit and then you don't even get an official selection. But I guess that's just kind of the way it has to be. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, everybody's wonderful.
Yeah, no, this is not a situation where everybody gets a trophy.
Right.
That's not what this is. There has to be standards that we all should at least at some point try to reach, or try to sit at least.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it does not feel good to sit here anonymously and hit not selected on a judging status. That's not a good feeling. It might be real easy for some of these other festivals out there or judges, but I assume people who are being legitimate, it's tough to tell somebody, I'm not going to select it, but you do have to be judicious in what your bar of quality is set. And I did email this person and I said, look, these are the reasons why, these are the things that you should probably focus on. And this person was very respectful in their response, understood where I was trying to come from. There can't be a good feeling to hear. And in my opinion, their project can be saved by an experienced editor. I feel like I could take, the timeline of their film and just in a day, I can make it manageable make it something that's watchable. But this carries on to some other submissions, and I want to talk about Wayne Dew's, I think I pronounced that right, The Dental Plan, which is a submission from Canada. And here's another film where there's a really interesting premise set up where a dentist and his employee are taken hostage in their office by somebody. And the premise is really great. I thought, okay, this will be interesting. But the first shot of this film told me, oh, I'm in for some work here, because the first shot, your establishing shot of the dentist office, it's a handheld shot, which could be fine if it wasn't super long and you weren't putting credits on a marquee that's out front. So you're putting text, layering video text on this marquee while you're in a handheld shot that's, it looks like you're filming it from a houseboat.
Yeah, the marquee and the building are moving.
The letters are moving, and it just looks so amateur. And for the life of me, I'm like, why, Wayne, did you not see this in the edit and just go out and lock off a shot on a tripod and fix that? Like, that's the first thing that tells me you're not caring enough about what you're creating. Now, I read that you had the audio and color redone in 2019 for this film. And, I've read up. I see that you've had this in other festivals and stuff, and that's all fine. All I can tell you is where I'm coming from. If you had your audio redone and you paid for that, you need to get your money back, because the dialogue is over-processed to a very disturbing degree, like shocking to hear the audio. I don't know what the original working files were like, but over-processing your audio is worse than just bad audio. If you have just bad audio, well, better to do that than over-process your audio and everything sounds like it's in a tin can, because it's very obvious to anybody who works in editing audio how bad this is.
Well, it just doesn't sound natural. We as humans know what a voice is supposed to sound like, and it doesn't sound like that.
Right. And, these are production issues. This is something you address during production. You get a good microphone, a good microphone. You can get a microphone really cheap. You can get a $25 Takstar video shotgun microphone, tape it to a broomstick, and that's your boom pole, and run it to a Zoom F1 or H1 or whatever the cheapest recorders are now.
Or your iPhone.
Yeah, you really can.
And put it in voice memo.
There are, I learned from a gentleman was on Noam Kroll's podcast, Show Don't Tell. There's a plug for Noam Kroll. And he shot a feature that's on Amazon Prime right now. But what he did for his actors was he taped their own cell phones underneath their shirts to
Super
to
smart.
their body, and just was using the voice memo thing to capture the audio.
Everybody has that app on their phone.
If you don't want to get a microphone, or you can't get somebody to manage sound for you while you're filming, you could at least do that, and you're going to get okay audio. Anything is better than deliberately bad audio or just not caring about it. But the sound is over-processed. The editing's just not good. The shots,
they're subpar.
I don't want to sit here and just rag on your film because you put a lot of work into this, but I'm just trying to be real with you.
It's not a winner.
It's not. And it's pretty rough, but
it was hard to watch.
And look, Wayne, you're not alone. You're not alone. And Wayne, if you love your movie, that's all that matters. Matt and Dre's opinion don't matter. They don't. And clearly you've gotten enough love for your film, but I hope that this perspective helps you going forward in the future, and you're just more mindful. We all get better. Every time we do something, we're getting better, and we're going to do the next thing better and the next thing better, and that's fine. But I just hope that what I'm giving you is ultimately something of value that you'll use going forward.
And that even though that you get to a certain point in your production where that mistakes have been made that you maybe can't fix, as long as you know that for next time, we always hope that people want to get better.
The last submission that we're going to harp on here is The Lost Thoughts of Midnight. Written and directed by Michelangelo Hexelvania. It's an hour and 21 minutes long. So really good. If you're going to submit a feature film, 80 minutes, perfect.
Yeah.
That's really great. I mean, the story should be as long as it needs to be, but I think that's a sweet spot for a feature time. And this premise is so good. It's a couple that's having marital problems, some major marital problems. The husband takes the wife out to a family cabin out in the woods, basically. And it's about what happens there. And he wants to save the marriage. And this is, ultimately it's a darker film. And I saw the premise and I was like, ooh, I want to see this. And I was like, I queued it up. I was so happy, so excited to get going on it. It just, everything about it looked like it was going to be super promising. And I can tell, what I like is that Michelangelo Hexelvania is an art house director. This is an abstract vision that he's got. And I get that. And I can appreciate that. But here's where sound again becomes an issue. Well, and I'll say that my main issue with this film was the writing. My man, take another 3-4 passes at the script. There's so much dialogue that can be tossed. And I'm not just speaking to you. I'm speaking to a lot of people this particular month, and everybody, in general who writes stuff. I should not hear, "What did you say?" once, let alone multiple times in a film. Or what? I mean, again, love your audience more than you love your film. the audience heard it. Like, if it's genuinely within the plot where this person couldn't hear what that person said, then fine. But if I'm speaking, if I say, Andrea, the French toast you made this morning was just awful. And you said, what did you say? I just said it. I'm right here. You heard what I said. So it's like this, it's this odd filler that I don't know whether it happens ad lib, but it shouldn't be in the writing, and it shouldn't even really be in the editing. You should be cutting that stuff out. Things need to be lean and economical. Dialogue is valuable real estate in your film, and you should treat it that way. The biggest thing I had a problem with, and I even had to take a few breaks while watching the film because I needed to clear my head, was there is this daunting feeling for 80 minutes.
It's very ominous the whole time.
It doesn't let up. It doesn't let go.
There's no ebb and flow of the feeling.
It loses that intensity, and it just becomes annoying. And there is an art house sequence at the end that, hey, I'm sure there's a niche for that. There's an audience for that. I'm not the audience for that. But I just felt like so much of this movie could have been cut out, and it probably could have been a pretty impactful 20-minute short film. It's not what he wanted to make. He wanted to make a feature film, and I'm sure he did it the way he wanted to do it. But this was just a film that technically made it really difficult to enjoy, and I went in wanting to see this story, and it was rough. But I have this feeling that Michelangelo is super talented. I think the passion comes through. It's in the frames. Like, I see where you're going with this. Did it resonate with me? No. But from artist to artist, I see all of, at least, my own little interpretation. I see so much potential in who you are and your style and your vision. You're another director or writer where I'm excited to see what's next. While, maybe I didn't have an enjoyable experience with The Lost Thoughts of Midnight, I am looking forward to what's coming next, because I think, obviously you're already a better filmmaker than you were when you were making that. And I'd like to see that progression. So, that's the last film I'm going to harp on. That's a non-winner, because our winner is going to get a stern talking to as well. And I hope everybody understands that the things I've mentioned are super easy to fix. And that's what perplexes me so much, is that these little things, just getting the sound right, maybe trimming down some of this dialogue, or taking some more passes at your screenplay before you go into production. Get your exposure right on your shots. Like, it's hard to manage all of this stuff when we're just independent filmmakers and we don't have a team. I get it. But slow down, take a little more time, and try to address these issues before you're submitting them to film festivals. And I believe that gives you a much better chance to win. Because if you're listening to me now, there's a lot of people out there who aren't listening to me, and they're making things and they're doing it technically poor. And my point is, you don't have to be a super talented, experienced Hollywood engineer to get your audio right. You just have to YouTube some stuff, and makes very, very small investments. Like one of these films that I've talked about that I couldn't mention the title for, $38,000 was the budget.
That's a lot of money for an independent film.
It is. And I don't know if that's inflated or not. And I don't know what this person's costs were. But I explained to this person, some of that money should have gone to an experienced editor, production sound, and somebody who knew how to operate that camera. They reportedly used a Blackmagic 6K, and I thought it was an old iPhone. Which is, if that's a camera that's not even stabilized, and they're doing a ton of handheld stuff, and you just can't handhold a Blackmagic. That's not their strong suit. Hey, I mean, their strong suit, these people completely passed over because, and this is this film we couldn't talk about, but so much of the cinematography was overexposed, or even if it looks like they shot it in log, but didn't understand they shot it in log in some of these things, so they didn't go in and correct the exposure, add a LUT, or do their own color, or even bring in a little bit of contrast and saturation. It was just washed out, blown out shots. And I mean, like, just all of these things, they're so simple, so small, that it blows my mind that they exist in these submissions.
Yeah, it's like building a house and then getting to the point where you just don't paint it. You just leave it.
Yeah.
You just leave it
there.
Yeah.
I want to raise the level
And
of
not
the
that
ocean here.
and not that you have to be the one that paints it. Hire a professional painter.
Yeah. Yeah. Or,
They will know how to do it right.
We're all on limited budgets, but I mean,
Yeah.
just, and again, I'm trying to raise the level of the ocean here. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to drag somebody down and lift anybody else up and say I'm better than this or that, or somebody's better than this or that. I want everyone to get better and submit better things and go further with what you want to do and elevate indie filmmaking. Because sometimes, it gets frowned upon.
It does, because of these situations,
Right.
though. I feel like this is what gives indie films a bad rap.
And if I'm talking about your film, you had a great premise. You had my interest.
Yeah.
If I'm not talking about your film,
There are lots we're
there
not
are
talking
issues
about.
with the premise and things that, maybe technically it was done well. But there's just, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Matt's using his filter.
But some of these submissions are things that I'm sure would be considered great by the appropriate audience. And, I'm self-aware enough to know that I might not be the audience for a particular film. And I embrace all things. If I'm not discussing your film, it doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. It just means I'm probably not the right person to give an opinion on that piece of work. And I'm trying to be as respectful as I can about that.
Yeah, and you don't know that going into submission.
No,
you
never.
You don't know that. So continue submitting. You're not always going to get a yay from everybody, and you kind of have to build up that thick skin in a way too. You have to be able to take some criticism and run with it. And like we've said before, you got to get better.
Well, and there's plenty of film festivals out there that will take your money and give you an award and do nothing.
Yeah.
So, all right. Narrative feature film winner. Let's go. How about David Wayne Young's Wish You Were Here, which has some significant technical issues. But David told a really enjoyable story. It was about an hour long, this film. And I'll tell you, technical issues aside, David Wayne Young cared about that and addressed it prior to submission. There are still things I can say, and I will, but the care throughout was present in this submission. You told a good story. You cared about the audience. It was entertaining. I think you did some really fine things in directing. The leads, Mark D. Anderson and Vonda Schuster, were really fun to watch, and you can tell the effort they put into their roles. And there is a bit of woodenness in some scenes to these characters, but I thought they were very complete characters. And by the end of the story, they had an arc. They experienced something, and they were in a different place in the end than they were in the beginning. And I think it's so important when you're telling a story.
When characters are flat, there's just no purpose. There's like, what did I just watch that for?
Yeah, so many of the times, we're not made aware of what a character wants. It should be fairly clear, fairly early, what your character wants, so that we can follow that character through their trials and tribulations of achieving that. And, there's different shades of that. But that's what David Wayne Young did so well. And this is a pretty ambitious film location-wise. They go to many places, and I think because of that might be why he had some technical issues with sound. I'm just based on what I watched, I think this entire thing is ADR. The soundscape is rebuilt in editing, and I think that soundscape omits and misuses several things. And what I mean by that is just in the opening where the lead character and his buddy are at a bar and they're drinking out of a shot glass. Now, when they set the shot glass down, it does not sound like a shot glass. I can't tell whether it's a empty beer bottle or a tin can, but it's not a shot glass. And that right away jerked me out of the film because I was like, oh no,
You know what it sounds like when a shot glass dips, taps onto a wooden bar. It's a thud.
You have to be as authentic as you can be, and it doesn't take hardly any effort to go record that Foley on your own. Go get a shot glass, set it down on a surface, record that audio, get a few different versions of it, then bring it in and massage that file to fit the right sound and level of it, because that's the type of stuff that really sets apart amateurs and professional productions. And it's easy for you to do. It's not hard.
It takes time and effort that when you are maybe a year into a movie, you've been writing it for a while, you've been living with it for a really long time.
Maybe you hate it.
You're bored. You're bored and you're done. You just want to be done. We totally get that. Yeah. And you hate it. You might get to a point where you're like, I just don't even like doing this anymore. Just isn't fun anymore.
Yeah, that happens.
We get the shortcuts.
But again, you have to care for your audience. And it's your job to build that soundscape. And in my opinion, in that bar scene, there should have been some wah-wah, whether it's, the kind of people in the background, it's a conversation you can't quite make out. There should be a little bit of a glass tinking, or, you sit in a bar and you think about what are the sounds you're hearing. You're hearing the tap pour, you're hearing the door open and close. You should still...
Some music maybe.
Well, he does have the music. But it's like, it's the dialogue practically, and then the music. And if there's some, I can't quite recall if there's something else in there, but it felt very hollow. Like I would have had some pool, some billiard sounds going on, because you already set that up. You established that there's a table there. So, let's hear some more of that.
You're the winner. Listen. Oh yeah, you're the winner.
Won. But again, I started this podcast by saying we graded on a curve. Narrative feature films left a lot to be desired this month. But you did the best job at telling a story and telling an enjoyable story. And I love that you went back and did this ADR work. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but gosh, I swear all of this is ADR. It's all redone. And if that is the case, kudos to your actors for coming back and doing that, because that's hard too, and it's so painstaking to do. And it could have even been costly depending on if you went to a studio to do that. I would say some of the music in this is very generic and wonky, and I feel like if you use a service like Ritual Music or Soundstripe, you probably could have found better files to use in your music. And I think that's important because there's opportunities in this film to really underscore the emotion with good music, and I felt like that missed the mark as well. But it's well directed. The actors are likable. The characters ultimately are likable. Even Mark D. Anderson's character, which is kind of gruff, and he's got there's some me in him. He's fun to watch, and it's fun to watch him evolve and soften towards the end. And without getting into what the end shots are or anything, I thought there was some really touching things there at the end that I didn't expect, and were really great. And they really put a nice exclamation point on the story that you told. And David Wayne Young is another director who just got better, having made a feature film, and is going to go on and make something even better going forward now. And he's already got some experience doing this, and he's a screenwriter and a producer himself. So, I'm sure that nothing that I said surprises him. I'm sure he's well aware of these things that I discussed. But all those things aside, Wish You Were Here is absolutely deserving of our best feature film for IndieEye Film Awards in March of 2021.
Yay!
And I apologize for some of this being maybe perceived as harsh or just unnecessary, and maybe I'm on a high horse, saying all this stuff about other people's work. But I'm super proud of everyone who submitted, and whether I was a fan of it or not, it's encouraging for me to see so many people take on the task of making these projects. We are a small community that knows how much work goes into this. And if you have friends, other filmmakers, other people who are involved in doing this, please let them know about IndieEye. If you think somebody could benefit from some basic feedback, I think that's where we're providing the most value. We don't have some massive reach. IndieEye is not prestigious and well known. We're brand new, but we're going to tell you what we thought of your film. And this takes time. Yeah, we watched everything, and some of them multiple times, and went back in to say, is this really true of my opinion? Do I still think this? And the hours of discussion we had, even just leading up to the podcast, and the hours it's taken to record the podcast, because we take breaks and we have discussions, and I have to go through this now and cut up the podcast and put it out there. I mean, we're putting a lot of effort into this, and not to pat ourselves on the back, but just to let you know that we're doing this because we care about the indie filmmaking community. And if you know people who have projects who would like feedback, share the IndieEye Film Awards link from Film Freeway or the Instagram or the podcast, and say, hey, these guys, they're going to tell it like they see it. I'm going to tell. What am I trying to say? I'm going to tell it like I see it.
Yeah.
Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound right.
Yeah, well, we're doing this for you, not for us. Ultimately, our jobs in this situation are to give feedback to help elevate the independent filmmaker community, not to make ourselves look good or feel good about ourselves. It's really to elevate the community. We hope we're doing that.
It's something I wanted to see more of when I was submitting my last feature film through Film Freeway and looking through all these film festivals. There's an opportunity here to do what we're doing, and I don't really see that happening. Again, there's only one film festival I'm aware of that does a podcast like this, and it's not great quality. It's like, again, do you care about audio or not? So, and it's, we have everything we need. So, hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, give it a like if you're listening on YouTube or, on Spotify. If you guys wouldn't mind giving us a review on Film Freeway on Spotify, or, actually, that's the only places you can give us a review, or, leave a comment. And did you enjoy the podcast? Were we mean? I mean, I'd love to hear back from the filmmakers that we talked about.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to shoot me an email or, talk trash about
let's keep it clean. Everybody's
ahead.
Keeping it clean.
Go ahead. We can have a dialogue. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments or email us at hello@IndieEyeFilmAwards.com. At this point, when you're listening to this, you can go to IndieEyeFilmAwards.com and we'll have the winners listed out. And we try to provide links and images for everything so that people can scroll through the page and people can discover you and maybe go follow you or your film or your production company. Reach out to other filmmakers you might think you could have a connection with and network, because that's the big thing that people are missing with online film festivals right now, is they're not able to go hobnob, rub elbows, have, bad hors d'oeuvres with and get a beer afterwards. Let's try to continue to support our community and build each other up and have a good time with it.
Yeah.
And make movies.
And thank you to everyone for your submissions.
And we'll see you next month.
Bye.
If you'd like your project discussed on the podcast, go to IndieEyeFilmAwards.com and submit to our open monthly competition. Find us on Instagram and YouTube, IndieEye Film Awards. Thanks for listening to this episode of IndieEye.